Welcome, everyone, to the Week 10 series of Just Saying Football with Jack and Sean. I'm your host, Sean Gannon, alongside my partner, Jack McNicholas. We're here to bring you news, notes, weekly updates, and game analysis of your favorite teams from around the league. If you haven't had the chance, go check out our website at justsayingfootball.com and follow us on Instagram at justsayingwjs for article and video updates. Week 10 kicks off with a great one for the Sunday matchups. We got a good one starting with the NFC South, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are facing the Carolina Panthers. Jack, take us through that one.
Yeah, we got a bounce back game coming here for Brady. Like we talk about with Rodgers, you have a bad game. Those kind of veteran quarterbacks go into the week and they adjust throughout practice, and we saw Brady have one of his worst games last week against the Saints, which me and you thought was going to be a very high scoring matchup. We thought this was good going down to the wire. We were very, very wrong.
So wrong.
And the Buccaneers, it starts with the run game here. They're going to have an opportunity to, take the ball away from the Panthers, who have had turnover issues at points in the season, but Teddy Bridgewater has been pretty accurate. They're just going to have to be able to outscore, this Panthers team, which has been playing pretty middle of the pack in every category.
Yeah, I just want to highlight one thing here. You mentioned the running game of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They had 5 rushing attempts against the Saints. 5. One of them, by the way, was a Blaine Gabbert kneel down to run out the clock. So there was really no attempt to actually run the ball. That means 4 rushing attempts realistically to try to get in there and to try to get the job done. I think they need to run the ball more. We saw a really good outing by Leonard Fournette in week 2 when they played him. He had over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. It's the kind of game that you want to see. You have to run the ball. You have to establish that, set the tone, set the pace, and hit him at the beginning of the game to let Brady do what Brady does best, which is sit back and pick off people.
Yeah, and we didn't really get to see him go through those progressions last week. We saw him miss out on a couple of routes, a couple of bad throws that really just helped the Saints get in great field position each time. But this week, I'm really looking at from a fantasy perspective in this game without CMC out. The Panthers are going to look to Curtis Samuel. I know you've been very big on Curtis Samuel this year. He's been able to catch the ball, run the ball. He's been all over the field. They run him on jet sweeps, motions. He's going to be a big factor in this game to confuse the linebacking core of the Bucs that is so stout and has been great in the run game this year. But as you mentioned, that's a record. It stood for 87 years. That rushing attempts record. The Buccaneers are going to have to run this ball. I'm going to see a lot. I'm definitely thinking of a lot of creativity coming from these two offenses. As with CMC out after they had him last week for the Panthers. It's going to have to be the Mike Davis show again. But I would love to see Ronald Jones, Leonard Fournette really contribute to this Bucs offense and maybe have one of those games where we say, wow, they can actually rely on their run game.
You're right. I think the Panthers right now, they take another hit with CMC going to be out with a shoulder injury again. Mike Davis has been fine. He's picked up the slack really, really well for them and has kept them in a lot of ball games with both his running and catching ability similar to CMC, though he's not as good as CMC, obviously. I think what you're going to need to do here is Teddy. He did not find the end zone week 2. He actually threw 2 interceptions. It was not a good game for them. They didn't score until the third quarter. They want to score, and they got to score early. It's similar to what they did with the Chiefs. They have to keep the game tight. It's what they did really, really well last week. We saw them fighting until the very, very last second. They're going to need to do that again this week. The Buccaneers still have a good defense. We've learned that their kryptonite is definitely the Saints. So I think that they can get this done against the Panthers. Brady has been in situations before where he understands what a divisional win means, what it means when you're coming off of a pretty embarrassing loss like that. And I think Tampa is actually going to get it done. And it has less to do about the weapons that he has and just like, oh my God, well, with all these weapons, he can do whatever. It really has more to do with he understands what it takes to get the job done. He knows what needs to get done this week, and that's a win. And he's going to find a way to do it, and that's going to include actually running the ball more.
Yeah, so in this game, I'm going with the Bucs in this. We love a good bounce back from a veteran quarterback here, and again we're seeing that after last week we just saw him make too many misreads. The Buccaneers seem like a very safe pick in this one. You're going Buccaneers as well?
Absolutely. I just think, again, an embarrassment last week. You're going to bounce back and have a good game against another divisional opponent. I just think that that the Panthers are going to be a little bit outmatched in this one.
Yeah, absolutely. And they've been playing great this year, but they are in a first-year head coach, and they haven't had CMC for the most of it. Another team that hasn't had their running back for most of the year has been my team, the New York Giants, who is hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. They had lost to the Eagles just a couple of weeks ago, the divisional opponents, but what do my Giants have to do to beat Philly this time, Chauncey? They just can't get it right when they play Philly.
Evan Ingram needs to catch the ball on those deep routes. That's the first thing, because that killed them in that game in Philly a couple weeks ago. He has to make those kinds of catches, especially in those big moments. I don't think he was expecting the ball at the time, so he slowed down a little bit. But he's going to bounce back, and he's going to make those catches when they come to him. But we saw that the Giants play well against him, and the defense looked really, really good last week against Washington. 3 turnovers, getting 3 interceptions, exactly what you want to see from the Giants right now. And they have a little bit of momentum going. This team has been playing really, really well defensively. Jones has stopped throwing and turning over the ball. We're seeing a little bit more just very basic, simple throws, being able to move the chains, which is what you want him to be able to do. And Gallman now seems to be sort of having a rhythm, and hopefully that continues to go, finding the end zone and things like that. This is a must-win game, and I think this is why you signed Joe Judge from the Patriots branch. He knows how much this game means. If you guys win this game, you'll be pretty much right there in first. You'll be 3-7. You'll have the Eagles then sitting at a 3-5-1. And then depending on how Washington and Dallas do this upcoming week, they'll either be 2-6 or they'll be 3-6 for Washington, 3-7 for the Cowboys, or 2-7 for the or 2-8 for the Cowboys. So this is a chance for you guys to really be able to try to take a hold of the NFC East, and you guys will still get to play Dallas one more time.
Yeah, I really want to just have the Giants take this advantage. They're at home. They understand what's at stake. They are a 2-7 team with a chance at these playoffs. Carson Wentz makes a lot of mistakes. We've talked about it. Although he has had 5 rushing touchdowns, 12. He right now, he's sitting there with a 12-12 touchdown to interception ratio, and that's a huge thing. We look at that all the time for quarterbacks. Where do they stand with that? I think the Giants are just going to have to make him make a lot of mistakes, and I think that anything that they do out of the backfield, Blake Martinez is going to handle. We saw him have another fantastic game last week. I can't express enough how hard the Giants have been fighting the last couple of weeks, but they haven't been able to get it done in some games. They had a really tough schedule in the beginning. It's going to start lightening it up for a little bit here. I'm excited for the Giants. I'm going to take them in this game because, not only because I'm a Giants fan, but I know that, like you mentioned right there, the new philosophy is in there, and they understand what's at stake. And this Joe Judge mindset is about discipline, and the Eagles have been undisciplined this year. If the Giants can be the more disciplined team on this day, run the ball with Gallman well, Jones can make those passes, and Ingram can catch them, this could be a great game for the Giants.
I think you're right. I think the Giants are going to get it done, and that's even with Miles Sanders being back in the lineup for the Eagles. I think that they can still get it done. Like we've talked about, the philosophy of Joe Judge has been implemented on this team. We see them fighting a lot of the times. They're losing a lot of very, very close games. I think this is a game where they really understand what's at stake. They know what it takes to beat Philly because they've almost beaten Philly earlier this season, and they're going to get it done at home. I'm going to take the Giants. I think Jones is going to have a solid game. Who do you think is going to have more yards, though? Darius Slayton or Jalen Reagor?
I think that Jalen Reagor actually can have the amount of yards, more than Slayton. We've been able to see Jalen Reagor flash this year, but he has been injured, just like this Eagles team has been. The theme has really been injuries, and you hate to see that, but his explosiveness is off the charts. We covered him a lot, like during the draft. He was a top 5 guy for us, so I think that he actually has the potential here to out-yard Slayton in this matchup.
I like it a lot. Moving on, we got the Houston Texans going into Cleveland, Ohio to play the Browns in the Dog Pound. Jack, what are your thoughts on this one?
I actually am very intrigued by these two offenses that have different philosophies. Houston right now ranking 6th in the passing game, while Cleveland is 5th in the rushing game. And Cleveland ranks 29th in the passing game, and the Texans rank 31st in the rushing game. They approach these games so differently. With Nick Chubb a full participant in practice this week, we're going to maybe see this 1-2 combo between Hunt and Chubb. And I just got to ask, is this the most dangerous running back combo right now when they are on the field?
I think when healthy, They definitely are. We've seen that they have been able to produce really, really good games. And just think about like the Dallas Cowboys game where it seemed like everyone in the backfield was scoring. Anyone who wanted to run the ball was able to score, including OBJ before the
Yeah.
injury. But I think that this is probably one of the best, if not the best, running back duo. I can't really think of another one that's really up there, with the exception maybe like Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams kind of backfield. What I'm thinking about this game though is Deshaun Watson's played them twice in his career, and both times he's gotten a win. Beating them 33-17 in 2017, and then beating them 29-13 in 2018. Over those games, 4 touchdowns total, only 1 turnover. That was also when he had DeAndre Hopkins. So it's a little bit different of a game when you're able to throw an all-world guy like that. But what I want to see is I want to see Will Fuller. I think that Fuller is really showing us that him and Watson have a really good rapport. They didn't trade him when they had the chance. It looked like maybe he was going to go to the Packers, and there was some interest there. And the Texans decided to retain him. I think it was because of what him and Watson can do. And I want to see the deep ball up against the Browns. I think this is going to be a really, really fun offensive matchup. You're absolutely right. I think right now that the Browns have more talent to beat the Texans, sadly, just because, you still have Jarvis Landry. Like we said about the running back duo, they got Myles Garrett. Outside of Will Fuller and Deshaun Watson, there's no one offensively to get it done. So I'm looking for them to try to do everything that they can to try to get it done.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm gonna go with Cleveland on this one. I feel like Jarvis Landry is really in need of a touchdown. I see him, he's been getting a lot of targets this year, but this offense has struggled. But I believe that the impact of Austin Hooper coming back, we saw what Baker was able to do with the tight end Bryant while Hooper was out, and I think that bodes well for Hooper with looks this week. I'm gonna go with Cleveland again at home.
I'm also going to go with Cleveland. As much as Deshaun Watson has been able to beat them and beat them very, very well, this Browns team is a little bit better this year than in the past years, for sure.
Yeah.
I also think, like I just said, there's so little talent right now on the offense of the Texans to get it done. And I think the 1-2 punch of Hunt and Nick Chubb is just going to be a little bit too much for this defense that is kind of bleeding in passing yards and rushing yards on the season.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be an interesting matchup with these two offenses that approach the game very differently. I just got to ask you quick, who do you think is getting more sacks? J.J. Watt, who just hit his 100 last week, or Myles Garrett?
I'm going to go with Myles Garrett. I think Garrett's just been having a really, really great season, and I think he's definitely a candidate for Defensive Player of the Year if he continues going. I think he's going to have a really, really good game. I expect a sack and a half from him, while JJ's only going to get like half a sack.
I love that. The Myles Garrett sack hot take. It's always here on Just Saying Football. And the next matchup here is Detroit 3-5 hosting the Washington Football Team 2-6 coming in. Washington has shocked the league this year, being the best secondary. They're ranked first in passing yards allowed right now. We really thought the defensive line was going to be the biggest impact. Who do you have in this game with two teams losing records that just need a win at this point?
Oh God, this is not the matchup you wanna see at 1 o'clock. But I'll take the Lions in this one. The Lions had a rough game against my Vikings last week. The Cook just handed a huge L to them, and Cousins was able to throw 3 touchdowns on them. I think that with Washington football's constant turnover of quarterback, we've seen Dwayne Haskins at the start, and then Kyle Allen stepped in, and now Kyle Allen's out, and now we're going to see more of Alex Smith. I just think that it's a lot of turnover. With the exception of Terry McLaurin, no one seems to really be getting it done for them offensively. Gibson, the running back, and Antonio Gibson and J.D. McKissick have had a really solid running backfield for them. But I don't know if they'll be able to replicate what Cook did, or if they'll be able to get enough momentum. I think the Lions are going to come in this one a little bit hungry. I expect them to have a good game against them. Even though they're the best secondary, I think AP, Kerryon Johnson, and DeAndre Swift is a little bit better of a running backfield that can get the job done.
Yeah, I'm also gonna go with Detroit. We actually aren't opposing on too many of these, but these games on 1 o'clock seem pretty straightforward. I mean, right now I see a lot of issues with that offensive line in Detroit in some weeks, and then some weeks they are running the ball fantastic. Matthew Stafford is good when he's in there. He just hasn't had, he's had Kenny G out. Right now his leading receiver is Danny Amendola. But I believe they have the weapons to get it done. I believe T.J. Hawkinson will have a good game this week. He's a big start for me in fantasy.
I also think one thing about Matt Stafford is he threw 2 interceptions last week, and I think that he's going to he's going to bounce back and know that he can't afford to do that. That's just not something you can give up. He even gave up one in the red zone. That's just unacceptable ball play right there. And he knows that. He knows a lot better. He has 36 game-winning drives. He's a great quarterback, big arm. I think that he can definitely get it done. Like you said, Hawkinson. He also has Marvin Jones. This is a solid team, and Matthew Stafford's healthy, and they're going to be able to get a win here.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. This could be an interesting matchup for Matthew Stafford. I love watching him go off. I think we both got the Lions here, and in the next game, our last game for the 1 p.m. window, Aaron Rodgers is hosting the Jacksonville Jaguars, the 6-2 Packers, the 1-7 Jaguars. Is there a way the Jaguars can win this game after the way we've seen Rodgers play in the last couple of games, Shawnzy?
No, I'm gonna Packers. To me, this is not even like a contest. The way for the Jaguars to beat this team is to run the ball and just try to keep the ball as much as you can out of Rodgers' hand. I think that now, though, when you look at what the Packers are getting back on offense, they're getting David Bakhtiari back, one of the best offensive tackles, if not the best offensive tackle currently in the NFL. And they're going to get Alan Lazard back, who was a really big threat for Aaron Rodgers prior to his core muscle injury. And then you still have Aaron Jones in the backfield. There's just not enough for this Jaguars defense to try to slow any of it down. You got Devontae Adams, who I expect to kind of have another 14 target, 10 reception, 100 and something kind of game with the possibility of multiple touchdowns. So I feel bad for the Jaguars. Hopefully they're able to move the ball here and there, but Aaron Rodgers is going to get this job done. This is an easy win for the Packers.
Yeah, I mean, the 49ers last week, they were beat up, but, they were not looking better after the game after Aaron Rodgers had his way with him. Right now, Rodgers, he's looking great. I mean, 24 touchdowns, 2 picks. Last year, just to give you a perspective, in 16 games, he went 26-4. He's already 24-2. I have no idea who's going to be able to stop them this year, but the 1-7 Jaguars wouldn't be at the top of my list to do it. Of course, James Robinson, DJ Chark, fantasy options. We saw Chark take the big touchdown last week. James Robinson, the 5th highest, scoring fantasy running back right now. There are upsides to watch in this game. The Jacksonville defense, it's going to be tough. Rookie CJ Henderson out of Florida. He was not. This is not a game that he is ready for on his schedule to go up against Devontae Adams. Where you said right there he could get 14 targets at minimum tomorrow on Sunday. It could be an absolute disaster for the Jacksonville Jaguars here. And I just want to mention Nick Foles a couple of years ago when he was on the Eagles and he took over. He had that season where he had 27 touchdowns and 2 interceptions, and that's the best ratio ever. If Aaron Rodgers throws 4 touchdowns and no interception in this game, he will break that in 9 games with 7 games left. And that, to me, is horrifying for Jacksonville's defense. And I have to go with the Packers on this one.
It's like right when you think Rodgers can't get better, he's going to find a way. I have one question for you this game. Who gets more touchdowns, Devontae Adams or Aaron Jones?
Oh, I love this.
I am so confident that they're going to put up a lot of points against the Jaguars that I can't pick a Jaguar player.
I'm thinking Aaron Jones. He was out the last couple of weeks with COVID, and we saw everybody be able to contribute in the backfield, but they didn't really need to the way Aaron was playing. I'm going to go with Aaron Jones. I'm seeing at least a rushing touchdown, receiving touchdown. We were talking about it earlier, Manu. This guy, he's not. People don't want to label him top whatever. I don't want to label him top whatever. That's fine. But scoring threat, fantasy points, Aaron Jones. I'm going to go with him. No disrespect to Devontae Adams, but you've had a couple of touchdowns the last couple of weeks. Let's get your boy Aaron Jones in the end zone this week.
Absolutely. I love that. I think you're right. I think they're going to see Jones in that end zone more than Devontae this game, just because they're going to have the opportunity to do so against a very weak Jacksonville run defense. That is all the time that we have. We hope that you enjoyed the episode. Enjoy the games. It should be a good one.
Yeah, it should be a good one. Thank you for watching the early afternoon Week 10 games. Just Saying Football on YouTube, justsayingfootball.com, Just Saying No GWJS on Instagram for all your article updates and video updates. Check it out, like, subscribe, follow us. Thank you. Have a good time.